Listen carefully. What you are about to hear will not soothe you. It will not praise you. It will not make excuses for your weaknesses. But it will tell you the truth. And truth, when it arrives, is rarely gentle. Your greatest enemy is not poverty, for poverty can be overcome. It is not lack of opportunity, for opportunity appears to those prepared to recognize it. It is not the world, the system, society, or fate, for countless men and women have risen above harsher conditions than your own. No, your greatest enemy does not stand outside you. It lives within you. It speaks in your own voice. It wears the disguise of pleasure, comfort, and temporary relief. And its name is lust. Lust is not merely desire of the flesh. That is only its most visible form. Lust is uncontrolled desire in any shape it takes. It is desire without discipline, impulse without purpose, appetite without direction. Lust demands satisfaction now without regard for tomorrow. It trades long-term achievement for short-term relief. It persuades the mind to abandon vision for sensation and discipline for indulgence. When lust rules, the mind loses command. Thought becomes scattered. Energy is wasted. Focus dissolves. One moment you want success. The next moment you seek escape. And in that division, progress dies. Purpose, on the other hand, is a gathering force. It unites thought, emotion, and action into a single direction. It sharpens the mind, strengthens the will, and gives every effort meaning. Lust scatters the mind, pulling it in 100 directions at once. Purpose concentrates it, driving it forward with clarity and power. And understand this eternal law of achievement: no person, no matter how talented, intelligent, or gifted, has ever achieved greatness with a scattered mind. Every great achievement begins with definiteness of purpose, not a vague wish, not a hopeful dream, but a clear, unwavering aim, a single dominating objective that gives direction to thought, energy, and effort. Purpose is the compass of the mind. Without it, the strongest talents drift aimlessly. With it, even ordinary abilities are transformed into extraordinary results. But lust is the enemy of definiteness. Lust thrives in confusion. It feeds on uncertainty. It grows powerful when purpose is weak. When a man does not know exactly what he wants from life, lust will decide for him. It will choose comfort over challenge, pleasure over progress, and indulgence over discipline. When a woman lacks a clearly defined aim, impulse becomes her master, guiding her actions moment by moment instead of principle guiding her destiny. And where impulse rules, destiny collapses. Look around you and observe carefully. You will see talented people with unrealized potential, gifted minds capable of greatness, intelligent souls who once dreamed boldly. They were not defeated by lack of ability. They were not held back by circumstance. They were broken by lack of control. They wanted success, but lust wanted pleasure now. They wanted wealth, but lust demanded ease today. They wanted freedom, but lust insisted on comfort in the present moment. They spoke of greatness, yet avoided the discipline it requires. Each time purpose asked for sacrifice, lust offered distraction. Each time discipline demanded effort, lust offered relief. Each time the future called, lust whispered, tomorrow. And tomorrow became a habit. A delay repeated so often it turned into a lifetime. Dreams postponed became dreams abandoned. Goals delayed quietly expired. And so they arrived at the end of their days not defeated by failure, but by the absence of decisive direction. For this is the tragic truth: a life without definiteness of purpose is not ruined in a single moment. It is slowly surrendered. One indulgence, one excuse, one tomorrow at a time. Napoleon Hill taught that burning desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not a mild wish, not a passing interest, but a deep, consuming hunger that refuses to be ignored. Yet desire by itself is not enough. Desire must be refined, directed, and disciplined, or it becomes the very force that destroys the one who possesses it. Uncontrolled desire becomes destruction. It scatters energy, clouds judgment, and weakens character. It pushes the mind toward excess obsession and regret. But controlled desire becomes power. It sharpens focus. It fuels endurance. It transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary persistence. Fire offers a perfect lesson. In its controlled form, it warms your home and cooks your food. Left unmanaged, it consumes everything in its path. The fire itself is neither good nor evil. The outcome is determined by the hand that governs it. So it is with human desire. Sexual energy, emotional craving, the hunger for stimulation and excitement, these forces are not curses placed upon you. They are raw power, embedded in your nature for a higher purpose. When wasted on impulse, they weaken the body and confuse the mind. When drained through excess, they leave exhaustion, guilt, and emptiness behind. But when mastered, these same energies elevate you. They strengthen imagination, deepen concentration, and intensify creative force. They provide the drive behind invention, leadership, art, and achievement. The same energy that drags one person into shame, addiction, and regret can lift another into brilliance, mastery, and genius. The difference is never the energy itself. The difference is discipline. The difference is direction. The difference is a mind that commands desire rather than kneels before it. For the individual who learns to govern desire does not merely succeed. They gain command over the most powerful force within themselves. Faith is the next great principle upon which all lasting achievement is built. Not faith as wishful thinking. Not faith as blind hope, but faith as disciplined belief. Belief strengthened through purpose, repetition, and action. Faith is the quiet certainty that your aim is worth the struggle. It is the inner assurance that sacrifice today is justified by reward tomorrow. It holds the mind steady when temptation pulls in the opposite direction. When faith in your purpose is weak, the mind looks for escape, and pleasure becomes the refuge of the uncertain. When you doubt your future, you begin to bargain with the present. You trade discipline for relief. You exchange effort for indulgence. You say, just this once, not realizing that once easily becomes a habit. Lust, in its deepest form, is often not hunger at all. It is fear wearing a disguise. Fear of effort, because effort demands endurance. Fear of loneliness, because discipline often separates you from the crowd. Fear of self-control, because control requires responsibility. Fear of becoming who you must become, because greatness leaves no room for excuses, and so the mind seeks comfort over conquest. It chooses the familiar pleasure over the unfamiliar challenge. It chooses immediate relief over future mastery. But listen carefully to this unchanging truth. No person ever indulged their way into greatness. No life of significance was built on constant escape. No empire, whether of wealth, influence, or character, was ever constructed on impulse. Greatness requires faith strong enough to resist temptation, faith strong enough to endure discomfort, faith strong enough to say no to what feels good now in order to claim what matters most later. Discipline is not deprivation. It is faith in a future so real that you are willing to protect it from distraction today. Napoleon Hill spoke with great emphasis about suggestion, the deliberate practice of planting thoughts into your own mind until they become accepted truth. Your mind is not shaped by chance. It is shaped by repetition. Every sentence you speak to yourself, silently or aloud, is a command delivered to the subconscious, and the subconscious mind obeys without debate. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I cannot control myself, your mind accepts that statement as a law. Your actions will align with that belief, and self-control will seem impossible. If you continue to affirm, I am a slave to desire, you will remain exactly that, not because it is true, but because your mind has been instructed to make it so. But understand this powerful truth. You may speak to your subconscious mind with authority. When you deliberately declare, daily and with conviction, I am the master of my impulses, your subconscious accepts the order and begins rearranging your behavior to match it. The subconscious mind does not analyze. It does not argue. It does not question your worthiness. It accepts orders and works tirelessly to fulfill them. Lust thrives where the mind is undisciplined, where thoughts are random, emotional, and unchecked. But discipline begins the moment you take control of your inner dialogue. Every act of self-command begins as a thought. Every victory over impulse starts as a mental decision repeated often enough to become belief. Feed your subconscious strength through deliberate affirmations. Speak words of control, purpose, and mastery. Picture yourself calm in temptation and firm in decision. As strength is fed, weakness is starved. As order replaces chaos, desire loses its grip. The mind, once trained, becomes your greatest ally. And the person who learns to command their thoughts soon discovers they can command their actions, and ultimately, their destiny. Use your imagination, not as an escape from reality, but as a tool to shape it. Imagination is not meant to fantasize failure, weakness, or indulgence. It is meant to visualize mastery. Before every action, there is an image. Before every habit, there is a picture held in the mind. And the life you are living today is largely the result of the images you have entertained repeatedly. Imagine yourself calm when temptation appears. See yourself steady, unshaken, and deliberate. Picture the moment when impulse calls and you remain in command. Imagine yourself choosing long-term victory over short-term relief. Visualize the strength in your posture, the clarity in your mind, the quiet confidence that follows self-control. Imagine the pride that comes not from indulgence, but from mastery. For the mind moves instinctively toward the images it holds most often. It works to recreate them in action, circumstance, and behavior. Whether those images are constructive or destructive, the mind makes no distinction. If your imagination is polluted, filled with fantasies of excess, weakness, and surrender, your actions will follow that pattern without resistance. What the mind repeatedly sees, the body eventually performs. But if your imagination is purified by purpose, if you consciously feed it images of discipline, achievement, and self-command, your behavior will begin to align with those images. You do not rise to the level of your wishes. You rise to the level of your dominant mental pictures. Imagination, when guided by purpose, becomes the blueprint of destiny. It gives direction to effort and form to discipline. It transforms desire into design. Hold before your mind the image of the person you are becoming, strong, controlled, focused, and unshakable. Your life will rise to meet the picture you refuse to release. No victory of lasting value is ever achieved without organized planning. Success is not the product of chance, and discipline is never accidental. Control does not appear in moments of temptation unless it has been prepared in advance. Discipline is designed. It is built deliberately through structure, intention, and foresight. You must plan your days, for unplanned days are easily surrendered to impulse. You must plan your habits, because habits quietly determine your character. And you must plan your environment, for no individual is strong enough to thrive in surroundings designed for weakness. A person who attempts to avoid temptation without preparation is gambling with their future. They rely on willpower alone, forgetting that willpower is limited and easily exhausted. True self-mastery removes unnecessary battles before they begin. Examine what weakens you. Objects, routines, places, influences, and associations that drain your focus and invite indulgence. These must be removed, not gradually, not reluctantly, but decisively. Then replace what weakens you with what strengthens you. Replace idle hours with productive work. Replace chaos with order. Replace isolation with purposeful connection. Replace temptation with commitment. Structure defeats chaos because it leaves no room for wandering desire. Routine conquers impulse because it replaces decision with direction. When the day is designed with intention, the mind has less opportunity to drift into weakness. Great self-control is not heroic, it is practical. It is the result of systems that guide behavior even when motivation fades. Planning protects you when emotion is unstable and desire is loud. Those who succeed do not rely on mood. They rely on method. Organized planning transforms discipline from a struggle into a habit. And when discipline becomes habitual, impulse loses its power. Master your structure, and you master your actions. Master your actions, and you secure your future. And then, persistence. For no principle is tested more severely, and none is more necessary. You will fail at times. You will stumble, hesitate, and fall short of your own expectations. This is not a possibility. It is a certainty in the process of self-mastery. But hear this clearly, and do not forget it: one failure does not define you. One moment of weakness does not own you. One lapse does not erase your intention or your worth. What defines you is not the fall. It is whether you stand back up with greater resolve than before. Lust wins not when you stumble, but when you surrender permanently. It claims victory only when you decide that effort is pointless and discipline is impossible. But you win every time you refuse to quit. Persistence is the refusal to accept defeat as final. It is the quiet decision to continue when emotion says stop. It is discipline practiced again and again and again until resistance weakens and strength becomes natural. You must decide firmly and without apology. You must act despite discomfort and doubt. You must persist even when progress feels invisible. Again and again, not with anger, but with determination. Not with desperation, but with commitment. Each time you persist, you weaken the old habit. Each time you rise, you strengthen the new identity. Over time, effort becomes easier and discipline becomes automatic. Eventually, you no longer resist temptation. You simply outgrow it. Persistence transforms discipline into identity, and when discipline becomes identity, struggle fades. The person who persists long enough does not merely overcome weakness. They become someone for whom weakness no longer has authority. Stand up, begin again, and continue until self-command is no longer an effort, but who you are. Napoleon Hill taught the immense power of the mastermind, the principle that no individual rises alone, and no great achievement is accomplished in isolation. Human beings are influenced, shaped, and strengthened by the minds they associate with. Thoughts are contagious. Attitudes spread silently. Standards are absorbed without conscious awareness. Weakness grows in isolation. Left alone, the mind drifts. Doubt multiplies. Temptation speaks louder when there is no opposing voice. But when you surround yourself with disciplined minds, your own discipline is reinforced. When you associate with people who respect self-control, you begin to respect it more deeply within yourself. When you stand among those who demand excellence, mediocrity becomes uncomfortable. A mastermind group does not exist merely to encourage, it exists to elevate. It challenges excuses. It strengthens resolve. It reflects back the standard you claim to live by. If your circle feeds your lowest instincts, your future is already compromised. If those around you glorify indulgence, mock discipline, or excuse weakness, you will be fighting not only temptation, but influence. Environment shapes behavior. Association shapes belief. And belief shapes destiny. Choose your influences carefully. The conversations you entertain, the habits you observe, and the values you tolerate are silently shaping your character day by day. Seek those who value growth over comfort. Those who speak with purpose rather than complaint. Those who live by principle instead of impulse. A strong circle becomes a shield in moments of weakness and a mirror in moments of self-deception. It reminds you who you are becoming when you forget. The mastermind multiplies strength. It sharpens discipline. It holds you accountable to your highest vision. Align yourself with minds that lift you upward, and you will discover that self-mastery becomes not a lonely struggle, but a shared ascent toward greatness. Remember this, and do not underestimate its power. The subconscious mind works day and night. It never sleeps. It never rests. It records every indulgence, every excuse, every victory, without judgment and without emotion. What you repeatedly think, feel, and do is quietly impressed upon it. And once impressed, it begins shaping your behavior, habits, and reactions automatically. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is useful and what is harmful. It accepts patterns and reproduces them faithfully. Feed it chaos, and it creates confusion. Feed it disorder, and it produces instability. Feed it impulse, and it strengthens craving. But feed it order, and it creates clarity. Feed it discipline, and it produces control. Feed it purpose, and it aligns your actions toward achievement. Lust clouds the subconscious because it overwhelms it with emotion and urgency. It trains the mind to react rather than reflect. Over time, impulse becomes instinct, and weakness begins to feel natural. Purpose, however, sharpens the subconscious. It brings focus where there was fragmentation. It replaces emotional reaction with intentional response. It teaches the mind to delay gratification in service of a greater aim. Every act of self-control is recorded. Every decision to resist indulgence strengthens the subconscious pattern of discipline. And every time you choose purpose over pleasure, you are training your mind to expect mastery. Your subconscious is always learning. The question is not whether it is being programmed. The question is who is doing the programming. If you leave it unattended, impulse will instruct it. If you take command, purpose will shape it. Train your subconscious daily with ordered thought, disciplined action, and repeated intention. In time, clarity will replace confusion, strength will replace weakness, and self-command will feel less like effort and more like instinct. For the disciplined subconscious becomes a silent ally, working for you, not against you, in every moment of choice. Finally, there is the power of decision, the moment where all principles are either activated or rendered useless. Indecision is the silent ally of lust. It weakens resolve. It delays action. It keeps the mind divided, and a divided mind is an open door through which temptation walks freely. As long as you hesitate, desire negotiates. As long as you postpone commitment, impulse maintains control. You must decide, once and for all, what kind of person you are becoming. Not vaguely, not emotionally, but deliberately and firmly. Decide what you will tolerate in your life. Decide what behaviors you will no longer excuse. Decide which habits belong to your future and which must be left behind. A firm decision closes the door to temptation. It removes debate. It ends internal negotiation. A weak decision, however, invites temptation back repeatedly. It leaves room for justification, rationalization, and retreat. And lust thrives where decisions are soft. Here is the ultimate truth, plain and undeniable. The world does not reward potential. It rewards control. Talent without discipline is wasted. Intelligence without self-command is fragile. Potential without decision is nothing more than a dream postponed. The person who masters themselves can master circumstances. They remain steady when conditions shift. They act with clarity when others react with emotion. The person who conquers lust unlocks energy, focus, and force of character that few will ever experience. Their mind becomes sharper, their will stronger, their presence more commanding. You were not born to be ruled by appetite. You were not created to obey impulse. You were born to command your mind, and through it, your destiny. So rise. Discipline your desires. Refine your energy. Focus your purpose. Turn lust into drive, impulse into intention, temptation into transformation. Decide today, not tomorrow, not someday. Today. Because when you conquer lust, discipline creates wealth. When focus replaces distraction, success follows naturally, and destiny bows not to luck, not to chance, but to the mind that has learned to rule itself.